Hey guys, this is another throwback video from Sean Davy Way. Genesis outlining what happened when she was coming up in the DJ world, meeting Jaguar, how her baby daddy died, to present. Let's take a listen.
Now, if you don't know who Genesis is a world-renowned. Okay, this woman has, especially from the 90s on up, has done a lot in the industry, but more so of behind the scenes. Batan, which we will get into, which is, let's get into that. Let me pull that up so we can, before we get into her, let's get into, he was in the group Slums Village, and they were a great group. RIP, rest in peace to him. He knew Jaguar from back in the day, the group Slums Village. They were around each other. They did, I believe, a couple shows together and whatnot. So around that era, so she knew him. Cap or anything like that, that is true. With that being said, in a live yesterday that Jaguar did, she brought up his death, and with him passing away, connected Genesis, which Genesis, who we have here today, is Batan's child's mother. They have a daughter together, and her name is Aura. He was brought up yesterday during a live with Jaguar Wright. Jaguar Wright said that she took part in his death and whatnot, even blamed it on her. And she was very upset by that information because they have had a recent falling out. Now, her and Jag go way back.
So Sean Davy Way is about to tell us what exactly Jaguar said about Genesis when she accused her of causing the death of her baby's father.
Jaguar said that Genesis is the reason, that he passed away, because she, allegedly was harassing him and stalking him, things like that. And he went into a drug house allegedly and ended up getting a bad dose and passing away due to her, which is not cool to say. I'm not, that very messed up. And she has a right to defend herself and her child's father, her daughter's father. She does have that right. So that is why she's here. One of the main reasons she's here.
So Genesis came on his program and she just wanted to lay out a little history of how she knew Jaguar. And she went into her baby's father and his history. She went into her history in music. She went into a lot of things. She gave us a lot of insight. I found this video very interesting into who Genesis really is, because we did not know much about her, and then she just surfaced as being a very good friend of Jaguar. And when they did have the falling out and Jaguar put out a lot of smear about her on the internet, then she was forced to come forward to defend herself. That's when we got to see who Genesis is. And from since that time, I've been hearing a lot more about her. But I was very interested in this video when I heard it, because it really shed light into the essence of who she is as a young DJ coming up in the industry. So let's take a listen, and I will be interjecting with my commentary. So once again, this is on the heels of Jaguar accusing her of unaliving her baby daddy.
How are you?
I'm better. I was really hurt by what was said. I was in tears, actually. I couldn't believe, I was like, wow. I didn't believe it.
So with this recent falling out with you and Jaguar, before we get into that, now you had a baby with Batan from the group Slums Village. So you and Jaguar, again, go way back. So can we get into the start? Like, I know you're a DJ, and you're DJing, doing your thing. Let us know a little bit about that. How did you get into DJing?
Well, I was in the military, and a guy named DJ Rags introduced me. I was initially going to be like a battle DJ. Mm-hmm. And so I was being like learning how to battle DJ and this, that, the other. And I was going to go into competition. But then my friend Alicia introduced me to the rave scene, which is the techno scene. One New Year's Eve, we were going to all these parties, and she took me to this party called Bass Rush, and I got introduced to techno and house music and stuff like that. And I remember being young and liking house music and stuff like that. So I was like really into it. So I was like, okay. So I switched from the battle DJ thing and got into like, DJing like, house and techno. When I left the military, I like got into like the whole DC. I was in Washington DC in the Air Force. And so when I like left the military, I was late. I mean, I was kind of like struggling and homeless and this, that, the other. And so like, but I like got back. I had people in the community that I was hanging out in. They helped me out, got me, like I got a job and this, that, the other. And I began to DJ at different clubs on this place called U Street. And there's like U Street is like a well-known DC whole, like it used to be like a whole neo soul, like house music, everything.
Now, since Genesis mentioned neo soul, of course, I had to tell you guys about neo soul. It was a great time. Some of the artists who was involved in that movement, that neo soul movement, was Alicia Keys, Lauryn Hill, John Legend, Jaguar Wright, D'Angelo, Erica Badu, Lauryn Hill, Maxwell, Flow Tree, just to name a few. Now you guys can understand why Jaguar is so bitter, because every last one of these people who were involved in this neo soul era made it. They remained on top, making their money. The only person who dropped off the radar, as far as I can see, maybe there were some more people, but I'm not aware of them. The only person that I know who dropped off is Jaguar. That's why she's so bitter and mad at everybody in the music industry, because she figured once she dropped off, they should have been reaching out and trying to pull her back in. But who's going to reach back and try to pull her up, or reach down and try to pull her up if she keep cussing everybody? So she dropped her own bag. If you're going to cuss Lauryn Hill out, maybe Lauryn Hill and Erica Badu are friends. And if you cuss either one of them out, of course, they're going to they're going to feel a kind of way about you. And neither one of them are going to want to help you. And that's around the industry. This is what's going on. So pretty much, she's blackballed. Nobody wants to touch her with a 10-foot pole. So according to Wikipedia, neo soul is a musical genre that flutes contemporary R&B and soul with elements of hip hop, gospel, and jazz. So I know you guys want to know who coined the phrase. Well, in the 1990s, this executive in Motown Records, whose name is Kadar Massenberg, coined the phrase. And that's where we got this neo soul contemporary music. That's where it came from. But there were so many great artists that came out of that era. They were all up and coming. Nobody really was on top at that time. Everyone was like on a even playing field. And then, they all kind of went into their own little genres and made it, except your girl Jaguar. Now, some say she didn't make it because she fell into some say drugs, some say alcohol, some say mental issues. Some say just lack of respect for people in the industry, cussing them out. So maybe a combination of all of those things caused her to be her own worst enemy. But let's continue to listen to DJ Genesis on how she knew Jaguar, because they have history. They go back into time, okay?
Like house music, everything, like poetry. Everybody would hang out on the street, and like it was a community where we just all like hang out and this, that, the other, and just do parties and do events, and a real creative like environment. And that's where I met Tony, who is now Jay Dilla's. It's crazy. He's Jay Dilla's mother's husband. Tone, shouts out to Tone. Tone. He used to throw parties and promote and stuff like that as well. And so I started a residency at this place called the State of the Union as a DJ with Sam the Man Burns. And I would have the backroom DJing like drum and bass and like different like house music, like different types of tech house, neo soul house. And he was in the front DJing more like the organic house, like Masters at Work, all that type of stuff. So we had like this night on Sundays where we would throw those parties. And so I started to like get into the Miami Music Festival. I threw parties down there. like I threw the first ever female DJ party down there. I used to put female DJ tours. So I was really into like helping the female DJ because, you know, females was always getting that short end of the stick, right? So I was always into like helping females, like women trying to be in the industry. So we were DJ Aosi and Clark was the one who helped me get the back room with Sam Burns because they used to DJ. They were a couple and they liked drum and bass and I liked drum and bass and I started DJing with them and then they ended up leading the residency and then I kept it and I continued to DJ in the back room with Sam Burns in DC. Yeah, you know, and I used to bring in artists like back in the day. They used to, like Brian G from you know, like all the V recordings people. Like I was really into the drum and bass scene, and then I would also bring in other DJs from out of town that would come and DJ. And this bar was like a well known place where all like people like live musicians. This is like a legendary place, but it was kind of a hole in the wall place, but it was like a, you know, like almost like a historic place that people like would come and perform.
So at that point, when did you meet Baten from Slums Village?
I met him later on. I met him like, I would say as a DJ, I would be DJing and he would always come out to see me DJ and be dancing and stuff at the after parties and everything. And me and him, like he was almost like when I would be DJing, he'd be dancing in the crowd, you know? And this was around like in 2005 and 6 when I was in Detroit, because I moved to Detroit in 2000. Mm-hmm. You know.
So, but you had met Jaguar before that, correct?
Yeah, I met her in like around 1998. You know, when she was with what happened is I went to an OK Player event at 930 Club. And I was you know, hanging out with Questlove and all those guys, and like I saw the Black Lily showcase at the 930 Club with OK Player, because the Roots Slum Village and the Roots Slum Village and somebody else that was performing, right? But the thing that really got me was when Black Lily came on, and it was a showcase of all female artists, 37009, what was the other group? Jazzy Fat Nasties, Flo Brown, and then Jaguar.
Yeah.
And when I saw Jaguar perform, I was like, oh my God. She wasn't even the headliner, but I was like, man, she needs to be the headliner. She was amazing. And
so when you first met Jaguar at that event, what gravitated you towards her? Because you said she was very talented. You said about storytelling during her set. What gravitated you to her?
She before she would do her song, she would like tell the story, right? She was like a story, like a Betty Wright, you know? Like you would get sucked in by the story that she would give before she would perform. So she'd set the song up and give this whole, you know, and you know, like telling, you know, this my boyfriend said this and this, that, the other, you know, giving a whole background. And then when it came for the song part, and I told him this and I said that, and then he said this and da 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 da. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And her whole set was like this whole storytelling, like amazing thing. The other artists were cool. Like I love 37009. They were a rock band, you know. Jazzy Fat Nasties were good too, but I was like, man, this woman is the standout of all. You remembered her performance.
Yeah.
And I was like, she needs to be the headline. I was like, I don't know. I was like, when Jazzy Fat Nasties got on, I was like, okay, but I mean, they were polished. They were more like the polished of it all, but she was raw.
Yeah. So from now to then, how different was she? Like, was she like this eccentric, you know, kind of like out loud person back then in the 90s, or was she more like reserved or quieter? How was she?
Man, she was down to earth. She was like a raw person. She was just how she was on the stage. You know, she was like a really cool person. Like, I mean, when I saw them perform at OK Player, I was like, I want to book them. They need to be booked. So I like actually booked them at State of the Union.
I pulled up some of Jaguar's old videos, and she is amazing. There's no doubt. This woman could have soared. She could have went a long way. I don't know. She needed some good management behind her. Instead of her controlling her own career and guiding herself, she needed somebody to really guide her, because she had the talent. She still got the talent, but those videos, Jaguar is really, really, really good, I must say. She was so good that she did a song with Jay-Z, and it became one of the top songs. At the time, I believe she was singing with the Roots. But it was rumored that she was after Jay-Z, and because he rejected her, she never forgave him for it, and she's been dogging him ever since. That's why she always said Beyonce's position should have been hers. But you can't make a man want you or anybody want you. The feeling has got to be mutual. It can't be forced, right?
Yeah.
I found a way to contact the owner of Black Lily. And at the time they had a budget to tour different places to only for them, because I think they all ended up having deals with MCA in some way. So there was a budget. So I was and I reached out to them and said, I want to bring you to State of the Union, which was also a live venue. Yeah. When they weren't doing the DJ night on Sundays, it was a live venue that rock bands and hip hop bands and everybody, they supported the underground scene. You know what I'm saying? So all everybody that in the DC scene that was doing 3LG and all these different Opus Acapin, they all had performed at State of the Union. And they had one of the best sound guys. It was when you would perform there, it was awesome. So I was I wanted to bring them to State of the Union, and it's a small place, but it was the vibe, you know what I'm saying? I was this would be a great thing to bring the State of the Union, just this woman showcase. I wanted her to be the headliner. When I was telling them, I was man, she needs to be the headliner, because Jazzy Fat Nasty was cool, but I'm man, if you in the show with her, honey, that's going to be a dynamite show.
Yeah.
And when I brought them, they were being kind of rude to me because I guess the place, they didn't have a dressing room and all this stuff. And so some people had kind of this star, when feeling where's my dressing room? And this and the other. But she was the only one that was cool and nice to me. You know what I'm saying? Me bringing them there. I spent my scrounged up my change. I wasn't no rich person. I was scrounging up change to bring them there, Yes. I was wow. I was amazed. I've never seen nothing like it.
Absolutely.
And when the other people were being mean to me, she was the person that was don't worry, girl, don't let them get you down. And I was yeah, wow, she's equally as cool off stage as she is on. Yeah. And then what's interesting is at the end of the night, the people, whoever that was on their team, their management, took the whole door, and I didn't even make a dime off the show. They gave me $25.
That's because she didn't have a team behind her. When it's a young female DJ out there, not only DJ, but any part of the music field, they really take advantage of the artists. Whether you're singing, whether you're a DJ, whatever. If you don't have backing, if you don't have a management team or somebody around you who can go into those meetings with you and maybe sign a contract. Maybe she didn't have a contract signed that she is supposed to get a certain percentage of the door, whatever came in. So because she didn't have a contract in place, they just give her whatever they thought that she should have, which was $25. And they probably made thousands that night. But I bet you Genesis learned from that experience.
From them doing that show with me, they got more gigs in DC. Other people started to book them. Yeah. Other friends of mine, you know what I'm saying? I'd be at every show, hey, Jag, man, talking to her, hey, man, you need to do a live album, telling her stuff like that. You need to get this on. I was man, maybe we can do a show with you just performing live and we just record it. And I was actually trying to put it together. I was man, and I was actually trying to what could I do to just do a live, record a live album for her,
Yeah.
But I guess something had happened where Jill Scott had did a live album, so they weren't allowed to do it anyway. So that never came to fruition.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just think that that's important for people to know that y'all relationship starts back. It started with business, type of situation. So it's never been a clout chase, or anything like that. You are a known DJ, one that has worked with so many people. And then on top of that, so you say in the early 2000s was when you met Baten, correct?
Yeah, so what happened is that when I left DC and moved to Detroit to work for a record label called Gabriel Records, and there's another, and I was actually the touring manager for a group called Indigenous Tribe. So, because what happened is that when I threw the event in at Miami Music Conference in '99, people got wind of it because I threw a whole like. I was working at Kinko's. I put together a whole DJ tour of women called Set It Off DJ Tour. And it featured DJ Heather Hart, and we would travel around the country DJing. And I put the whole tour together. It was in DJ Mag, Mix Mag, and it like got a little headway. You know, we toured about 10 different clubs around the country, you know. And so when people saw that I put that together, they actually paid for me to move to Detroit to help a guy named Omar put me in touch with Indigenous Tribe, and then they brought me out to Detroit to help them in their label. And then that moved on. So my cousin is in Killer Army. And then Indigenous Tribe did a song with Killer Army and Eminem, and I put all this stuff together. So I was working in the music industry, working with Wu-Tang. You know, I threw events with Wu-Tang, through like live shows with Wu-Tang. You know, I moved on to be a part of the Underground Resistance, Submerge Records. You know, I was the artistic director for the Detroit Electronic Music Fest. We brought in Mos Def, Redman, all that stuff. It was over about 60 different artists that we brought to the Hart Plaza and things like that. So I was like doing all kind of festivals and putting together festivals and, you know, things like that. And then Drake Pfeiffer, who's part of Urban Organic, I was like, man, you need to bring Jaguar out, because he was throwing parties like with Eric Roberson and Fertile Ground. He brought them, and I was like, man, you need to bring Jaguar. So he ended up bringing Jaguar that a little bit later on. And then, like I said, and then I ran into Batin, but he was like, you know, I'm DJing. I'm like, hey, you know, you need to we need to work together, you know. So me and him started hanging out, you know, and we did a video when I came out with a song called Hush. I got him to be the star person in the video. You know, who was the star of the video, right?
Yes.
So I was putting out records through Submerge. I was like living in the basement of Submerge and putting out records and being their web developer.
Genesis has a rich history in music, and plus, she's a web developer. I mean, why didn't I not hear about this woman before? I think she's got such an interesting story.
If you ever heard of techno, they're like a group called Underground Resistance, featuring Jeff, Mike Banks, and all those guys. And I was actually working at Submerge in the basement, working with Mike Banks. He was my mentor, and Mike Banks is the person that started Underground Resistance. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was really deep entrenched into the techno scene, producing records. I had my own record label, putting out music. And I'm DJing. I went to Africa, and the Red Bull Music Energy drink brought me out there. I was working with Amp Fiddler. I did songs with Amp Fiddler. I had, you know, music out, you know, this, that, the other. But then I ran, you know, me and Batin, he would come to my house and I'd be doing music, and, you know, I'd have him listen to it. And at this time he had left Slum Village because of some mental illness issues.
Batin was very, very talented, but he had demons. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he had a drug problem. I got a real insight as to what this schizophrenia is like when a person is going through it, because Batim explained what he was going through whenever he got into these mood swings. And this is what he said. He said he would be angry and lash out and go crazy. And it was like, do I have demons? I couldn't control it, he said. He also said it was a learning experience, and he was diagnosed with depression and schizophrenia with bipolar tendencies. He also said it was bipolar when he was responding to 12 different impulses, but he said he didn't hurt anybody. But can you imagine responding to 12 different impulses at the same time, and you can't decide what to do, which one to address? So it seems as though you're going crazy. But thank God that there's medication today that can quell some of those impulses and those bipolar tendencies that people do get when they've been diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia or any one of those diagnoses. And it's just a blessing that we have those medicines now that can help people.
He would come to my house and I'd be doing music, And, I'd have him listen to it. And at this time, he had left Slum Village because of some mental illness issues that had popped up. And so I was like, trying to get him back into music. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he had stopped. He was doing stuff here and there. But I was like, trying to get him back to, doing music. Because, he had already had, I found out later that he was, as time went on, that he was on, on drugs, you know what I'm saying? And so my objective was like, man, I want him to get off the drugs and start doing music. So,
as for the medical examiner's office, Batin died from cocaine abuse, and the manner of death was listed as accidental.
I was in his life, and then once Proof died, I began to take him to Proof's Proof studio, you know what I'm saying? And I was trying to get him to do music and getting him in the studio, trying to get him to get back with Slum Village. I was like, man, you need to reconcile with your brother, So I was more like a person hey, get back in the studio, let's do some music, let's do this, We ran back into Jaguar when Urban Organic booked her for a show at I think the Comerica Park. It was Drake Pfeiffer's event, Urban Organic, and then me and Batin went out to go see her, And then he got reunited with her, and he was all happy to see her, and I was happy to see her, and reunite again. And then so we saw each other, we hung out at the club or whatever, and then she got rebooked again at the African World Fest. I came out for that. Hey, Jag, what I'm saying? I'm glad to see you're doing good. This, that, the other, all that stuff. And we vibe, we talked. I met Marsha Ambrosius. We were just cool, what I'm saying? But we would meet in, as time went on, in aspects of our, of life,
So yesterday, Jaguar went live and she stated that your kid's father passing away, that you did it, that you were the reason that he was found strung out outside on the ground and whatnot, and said some awful things about your parenting and whatnot. So how do you feel about a person that is supposed to be your friend coming forward stating that you allegedly KILLED'd your daughter's father?
Well, I'm hurt because I'm like, one of the reasons why I reached out to Jaguar was because I was, throughout this whole time since he had passed, his legacy has been, people have put out music and stuff like that, but there's never been no real, people have even sampled this stuff. I think what's his name? What's his name? The guy that sings, what's his name?
That sings what?
I'm trying to think of the artist. Man, dang, I can't think of the guy's name. But he put out the song called Everybody's Something, he's a well-known from Chicago rapper. Chance the Rapper.
That's right.
Chance the Rapper sampled him, you know what I'm saying? And there was there's been things coming out where people are sampling him and doing stuff, but no one's ever given him his shine this whole time.
So people are sampling his music. I'm wondering if anybody in the family is getting paid, like his mother or father or somebody in the family. Are they sending checks to those people every time they sample his music? I'm wondering. He probably needs to have, the family probably needs to have something in place in terms of representation, some type of agent that these people can go through. Whenever they need to sample his music, the family can be paid.
We've been trying from a state situation to try to do things, but nothing ever really ever been able to kick off fully to give him the shine. So what the idea was, we should put together a documentary. When I ran into back into Shaka, because I actually was working with Shaka from Tribe Zulu, he's connected into the industry, and a lot of people he knew Batin. He knew a whole bunch of people that knew Batin back in the day. Mm-hmm. So we started talking. We should do a documentary to bring his legacy back out, And so I was like, you know what? I know you talked to Jaguar. We should probably get in touch with Jaguar, because there was a whole thing about carbonation, and that they had did a whole interview on Bigo and this, that, the other, that when her and other people were doing interviews that, with Shaka. And so we're all like, okay, well, maybe we should get back in touch with Jaguar, and maybe she could be able to, be a person, because I know that he toured with her, with the OK Player tour, because I know that she was a part of the Roots at one point, and so she toured with them. So I said, well, maybe this would be a cool thing to bring her out to actually like do the documentary, you know. And so I got in contact with her to do the documentary, you know. So that was the objective, is to like, okay, we want to bring some more shine for Baten. Let's do this documentary. And she was like, yeah, that sounds great. I love Baten. And honey, when she came, I met her. I had a dinner with her, you know, and I'm like, you know, she's reminiscing about Baten and this, that, the other. I told her what happened because she didn't even know the background of what happened, you know. So once she found that out, that Shaka was involved, she wanted to come to my house and meet Shaka again.
So this video really gave us a really good insight as to the people in Genesis' life, Jaguar and her relationship, Shaka, Batin, all these people. She's given a really good recap as to these people's involvement in her life and how she and Jaguar became friends. Once again, this is the interview that Sean Davy had with her. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. So the next part of the video is going to be more on how Jaguar started to dog her and accuse her of unaliving Batin, and how Genesis reacted. YouTubers, drop your comments. I'm over and out. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.